Hi, and welcome to another Babbles here at Terribly Fun Films. If you don't recognize that name, it's okay, it's new. It was called Bobby Rants. I've only done one of them so far, for Suicide Squad. And I was going to keep using that name until I was watching some Fela's videos last night, and I realized he calls his theatrical reviews type vlogs title of movie Rant. I don't want people to think I'm stepping on his toes, encroaching on his territory, or anything like that. The easiest thing to do was just change the name. It'll be alright. I settled on Bobby Babbles because I thought it sounded really funny. With that out of the way, we are going to discuss the entirety of the Blair Witch franchise. Heavy focuses on all three movies, with a little bit of discussion of the comics, books, and video games. So without further ado, let's have at it, shall we? Up first is, of course, the very first movie, The Blair Witch Project. Of course, I own it on Blu-ray. It is my second favorite horror film of all time, and I just rewatched it on Sunday before going to see Blair Witch in theaters. I watched both of the other Blair Witch movies, in fact, before seeing the new one. How does it hold up? 17 years on from its original release? Fantastically. This movie is amazing, and it's genuinely creepy. Outside of the hype, taking away the is it real or isn't that the viral marketing campaign really tried to amp up and everything, there was a bit of a backlash of, oh, nothing happened, yada yada. I understand where those people are coming from. I think they're wrong. It's such an eerie, almost claustrophobic movie, despite being set in the open woods. And actors seem genuinely terrified, which allows you to feel genuinely terrified. The subtle sound design is the absolute best part of the film, because you won't always be hearing the things the three filmmakers, Heather, Josh, and Mike, are hearing, because they're not recording the sound properly, because they've just grabbed their quick handhelds, not the actual cameras they're using to film the documentary proper. And that's just fantastic. At the end of the movie, major spoilers for a 17-year-old movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it and you're watching this, come on. What gives? The end, when everyone is separated and Heather is running through the house, yelling for Mike, yelling for Josh. We're actually seeing her point of view. It's her camera that we're following, but we don't hear her sound coming out of the same spot. The sound is being recorded elsewhere. Mike's the sound guy. He has all that sound equipment. So that microphone is going filtering through wherever Mike is in this witch's house. And that disconnect is so creepy and so eerie. And then, of course, the ending happens. And you're like, oh my god, freak out. Because it's just weird and insane. The Blair Witch holds up really well. It's creepy as hell. And I love everything about it. I really don't have much more to say about that. I think Heather, Josh, and Mike all playing various versions of themselves, but still characters, just very much based on who they are in real life. Do a really good job. I think the co-directors Edward Sanchez and Daniel Merrick do an excellent job of keeping things natural feeling and realistic, while still not being able to explain, at least to the audience, all the insane things that are going on with the pile of rocks and the figures made of twigs that is sort of the symbol of Blair Witch. You know, it's creepy as hell, and it's amazing. Next up, we'll discuss the second movie, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which I own on DVD. Does not have a Blu-ray release that I'm aware of, therefore I don't own it on Blu-ray. And this does, of course, have a soundtrack, which is a bit of a mixed bag, and I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. The soundtrack that's presented to us here and in the movie that is on DVD is not the soundtrack that was intended by the director for the film. However, on its own, featuring the likes of Godhead and other such bands of the sort, the soundtrack's solid and entertaining, and it's a good soundtrack. It just makes the movie feel sort of generic and heavy metal music video-y, if that makes sense. The director is Joe Berlinger of the Paradise Lost movies fame. He co-wrote this script, of course, based on the first movie slightly, with Dick Beebe. I like a lot of the ideas in the movie. In Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, the first Blair Witch project is in fact a fictional film. And the movie starts off by exploring how that film phenomenon, that movie becoming such a huge pop culture event, affected the town of Berkowitz, affected the people living there, affected the economy, and about the tourists who come to kind of stake out and do see the locations the movie was filmed at, go in the woods, that kind of a thing. Which, that's a really cool idea. It gets kind of meta at times because this only exists because of the first Blair Witch, and they directly talk about that at moments, because the whole film follows the Blair Witch Hunt tour group, which is led by Jeffrey Donovan, playing a version of himself named Jeff. Most people know him from Burn Notice. He is, of course, the main character on Burn Notice. He's leading this group of tourists who are big fans of the movies or want to debunk it, or whatever reasons they have. A married couple are writing, or at least they're together, I can't remember if they're married. They're writing a book about how hysteria and stuff causes these big spikes in economies and how it affects cultural perception and stuff. I like that angle. That angle's pretty interesting. But thanks to massive studio interference, and it's chronicled very well in several other people's videos that I will link to in the description below. Most specifically, Cecil Trachtenberg's Good Bad Flicks Exploring Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 video does a great job of discussing the movie overall. It gets really muddled. The film tries to incorporate all these interesting ideas and themes while still having an actual haunting and a weird mystery going on about it. Our tour group runs to a different tour group. Eventually, the second tour group is told to just go chill at a Coffin Rock. We'll leave this spot in the morning, and then we'll swap places. Our tour group will head to Coffin Rock. These people will come back to where our main tour group is. They then wake up sort of missing the entire night. They don't remember a thing from it. They have found the little DV tapes from the camcorder that the tour is being filmed on. So they do watch it, and that is where your sort of found footage aspect of the film comes in, because outside of that, it is a traditional narrative in terms of how it's filmed, which again breaks away from the Blair Witch Project in an interesting way. It's not fully utilized in a way that makes it engaging, but again, massive studio interference, so I don't know who to blame for that. And that's sort of the problem, is I think all the actors do a good job, especially Jeffrey Donovan and Erica Learson, who's a really tricky, really weird role that I'm not totally sure I understand, even though I've seen this movie several times. I think everyone does a good job. It's just that I don't get what the movie is trying to go for. And I don't know if the people who recut the film and added on all the new music and whatnot knew either. It has moments where it works, there's moments where it's really interesting, and the way it incorporates certain elements of the initial Blair Witch story, while still stating that the Blair Witch project itself is a movie, and stating that the Blair Witch does exist, because clearly there's this haunting stuff going on in the movie, is interesting. It's not fully realized because we get random shots of gore that seemingly come out of nowhere. It's a weird weird dichotomy there, and I know for a fact that those sequences of violence and gore came against the director's wishes. However, overall, flaws in everything. Not totally making coherent sense, not totally following up on its themes. I think the movie is watchable, and I think it does an interesting thing with the idea of the Blair Witch. It's one of those movies I more appreciate than actually like, but it's one of those movies that's worth watching, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know if it does. Up next, we have a series of books and comic books that were created to tie directly into either the Blair Witch Project or Book of Shadows. The first one, I'm just grabbing these in any random order that I have them stacked in, so, is Blair Witch, The Secret Confession of Rustin Parr by D.A. Stern. I have read all of these, by the way. I have seen the movies several times, and when I get to the video games, I've beaten all 3 video games no more than 3 times each, with one of them being more than that, and that's the Ellie Kidward one specifically. With that being said, though, this book is actually really good. It does take on the Rustin Parr story, and it makes him really sympathetic. For those who don't remember from either one of the original 2 films, Rustin Parr is accused of killing the Burkittsville 7, which 7 children he murdered, and he made one stand in the corner while he killed. He abducted them 2 at a time, and he would kill one. The other kid would stand in the corner while that killing was happening, which is where the ending of the first Blair Witch Project comes into play. It was said that he was being told by an elderly woman's voice to do all this. They presume it's the Blair Witch, yada yada. This book goes in a really interesting route by taking the stance that not only is he being told, but he didn't actually do the killings. It gets really complicated, but it kind of makes sense. And they don't just mean, oh, the Blair Witch possessed him or something when they say that. It's really solid, it's entertaining. Up next, we have, also by D.A. Stern, Blair Witch, Book of Shadows. This isn't really a narrative book like the Secret Confession of Rustin Parr, but this is sort of a dossier, police report, filing stuff about the incidents that happened throughout the second film. As, you know, there are murders, so the police are involved, and that kind of a thing. So it discusses that stuff, which is very much like the original Blair Witch book that came out, which is not a novelization. It is, of course, by D.A. Stern. It actually says compiled there at the bottom, if you can see where his name is, because back when Lionsgate was released, when Artisan, it's now owned by Lionsgate, when Artisan was releasing the movie, they tried to make it as much as possible seem like a real thing. So this is compiled by, because of actual events and stuff. This one is called the Dossier, the Blair Witch Project Dossier Files, and it's just that. It has the handwritten journal of Heather from the first movie, and it goes about telling and compiling police reports and interviews and that sort of thing to further expand upon what we see in the original Blair Witch Project, and it's fascinating. If you like the Blair Witch, if you like this universe, these are all definitely worth it. Next, we have the one-shot comic just titled The Blair Witch Project, which is also not what you would expect. This is not a straight-up adaptation of the Blair Witch Project. This is a 3 short stories, all involving the Blair Witch to some degree, further detailing and expanding upon information and stories we hear in the original Blair Witch Project. So we get more of Ellie Kidward, we get more Rustin Parr, that sort of thing. It's really cool. The artwork's really great. Then we have the comic The Blair Witch Chronicles, which has 5 volumes. This houses all, this houses 3 of them. The other 2 are upstairs, but I didn't feel like grabbing everything. I'm not opening them, I'm not reviewing them, you know. So just as long as you can see, I have them. They're really good. Once again, they are a collection of short stories and that sort of thing, detailing hauntings and curses by the Blair Witch, going into further detail of this universe. For those who have never bothered with this sort of thing, yeah, the Blair Witch extended universe, if you will, is massive. Massive. It's kind of exhausting. I don't have time to go into every little detail behind it, but it does bring up some more interesting Rustin Parr stuff. And I like the idea. Finally, for non-movie related items, we have the games. This is in fact all 3 games. I have played all of these multiple times. I think they're great and they're awesome. They're also just the style of games I like. They're adventure point and click with some action, that type of thing. The mysteries, the horror. I love that sort of thing. Volume 1 of the games is Rustin Parr, which details more Rustin Parr story, and it's really engaging. Next is The Legend of Coffin Rock, where a brutal murder happened and the body's in the shape of a pentagram, if you recall the legend from the first film. And then the Ely Keyword Tale. And that's my favorite one. That's the one I've played multiple times. 5 or 6, I guess. Because Ely Keyword is what everybody believes the Blair Witch to be. That's not totally accurate. And if you play the game, you'll see what I mean. And if you know a bit more about the history, you'll realize that the Native American tribes local to that area don't go near the woods. There's a old legend about this entity that takes over and is evil. So it's been long before Ellie ever got killed for supposedly practicing witchcraft. But I'm not here to discuss the minutia of the Blair Witch universe and get into discussions of how Heather was or was not sending out vibes to sort of summon the Blair Witch to get her on camera for the Blair Witch Project. I don't have time to get into all that. So clearly I love the Blair Witch. I love the series. I love its mythology. I think it's great. I was too young to see the first 2 films in theaters, so it's not. Adam Wingard's Blair Witch is the first Blair Witch movie I have seen in theaters. I saw it Sunday night, which was the last night for opening weekend, because opening weekend is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And before I get into that movie, let me get into what I think of Adam Wingard and his other films. Adam Wingard made You're Next, which is a fucking travesty. I know several people really like it. It got high praise, and I hate it. I think it sucks. It's got good acting, but I think the comedy is ill-placed and ill-defined, and I think how it tries to upend the home invasion thriller does not work at all due to the various twists that happen in the film, and it's never scary because of its comedy. So we're just left with this weird thing that just sort of exists and irritates me. I think it's stupid as hell. He also did the movie The Guest, which is an improvement over You're Next. It's got a much stronger sense of self. I think it balances tone much better, has really great acting, especially from the 2 leads. The person playing the titular guest and the main female in this family that he's staying with. And the ending is really good, but it's terribly edited. Just piss poor editing. To where the point where everything is being foreshadowed. Oh, he's walking up to a window, and then he leaves, and the camera will just stay there at the window for 5 seconds for no goddamn reason. Nothing happens in front of that window. Nothing. It's stupid. It doesn't add atmosphere. It just makes you look like you forgot to fucking edit, you lazy idiot. He also did a segment for at least one of the VHS series of short anthology movies. And the VHS anthology films are the worst anthology horror movies ever conceived by man. Period. They all suck ass. Every single one. They fucking are terrible. Even the ABCs of Death, which are very mixed, is at least more engaging from a conceptual standpoint and just plain smarter. So, with all that out of the way, Blair Witch came from a weird place for me. We all know that it was kept secret for a long time and was being known as Woods until San Diego Comic-Con release, where it was, oh, it's a new Blair Witch movie. My love of Blair Witch and my hatred of Adam Wingard collide. Which one won out? My hatred for Adam Wingard. I don't know if he could make a good movie now, but between his three feature-length films, because this is bad. It's nothing inherently engaging or interesting or smart or clever going on anywhere in this film's brief 80 to 90 minute runtime. It's a short film, thank God. Sees James, played by James Allen McCune, find a video posted to YouTube that he believes is of his sister Heather some 15 years after the initial events of the Blair Witch Project. So he convinces his friends, Peter, Lisa, and Ashley, to join him, go searching in the Burkittsville Woods area, to try to find anything they can about his sister, which he was 4 when she disappeared, and it has been a sort of defining aspect of his entire life. So he's been sort of obsessed with trying to find her. They team up with Lane and Talia, the 2 people who found the tape that they uploaded, and they go searching in the woods, and of course, witch things happen, and loud noises happen, and more loud noises happen, and holy fucking shit, this movie is so goddamn loud! I'll get to that in a moment. This is an actual found footage film, and by using the Blair Witch Project as a real event, it completely erases Book of Shadows from existence entirely. It uses some of the same ideas about time manipulation and stuff, but for the most part, everything from Book of Shadows is gone. And this movie is an awkward retread of the first film. Not beat for beat. It's not a direct asinine thing. It's not like The Hangover 2 where it's just all the same jokes in a different place. No. But it's close enough to be really similar, and it does nothing new to be annoying. I'm not going to try to spoil the movie here, so some of this might not come through properly, but I'll do my best. I'm going to start with the positives. James Allen McCune, playing James, is really good. He's very empathetic and he's very likable. Lisa Arlington, played by Callie Hernandez, which it should be noted that it's fucked up that this movie doesn't not continue the trend of having these people at least use their first real life names, and that annoys me greatly. Because, come on, how fucking hard is that? That just shows to me how much they don't care about actually preserving the legacy, despite what Adam Wingard has said in interviews. I don't believe him, and it's not because I don't think he's dishonest, it's because I believe he's too fucking stupid to know any better. Anyway, Callie Hernandez plays Lisa, and she's fairly good. Corbin Reed plays Ashley. She's good. She's kind of boring. I mean, she hurts her foot early on, and that comes to nothing, and she doesn't totally play that her foot's hurt all the time. It's weird. Then we have Brendan Scott as Peter. Do you see my problem here, guys? Even in the fucking much-maligned Book of Shadows movie, they were always playing versions of themselves. Jeffrey was named Jeffrey. Erica was named Erica. So on and so forth throughout the entire fucking film. The Blair Witch Project, Heather, Josh, Mike. Their real names are Heather, Josh, and Mike. Why would you do this? You're... Anyway, that's a fan rant and not actually having much to do with in the way of the movie. It just shows how inept the entire thing was from concept on up. Anyway, so James L. McCune, good. Callie Hernandez, she's good. She's very likable, and she's very. There's this amazingly well-acted sequence at the end, which doesn't make sense given character actions 2 seconds later, but that's bad writing, not her bad acting. That's really amazing, and if I gave more shit, it would genuinely be heartbreaking. But it's not, because the movie's that poorly written, and I'll get to that in a moment. Playing Lane is Wes Robinson, and he's good. He's a little weird, not in a, oh, he's creepy, awful weird, but weird in terms of his mannerisms. It's kind of implied he's being controlled by the Blair Witch the entire runtime, but that doesn't make sense at all. Even, like, taking out other issues that have the movie, that just does not work in this narrative that it's telling. So I don't know. It's a little bizarre there. And then Talia is played by Valerie Curry, and she's good. She seems genuinely scared a lot, so that's nice. Then we have Peter, played by Brandon Scott. Fuck him. Fuck him hard. Fuck the actor, fuck the writing, fuck this character. He's awful. He's dreadful, he's terrible, he's not funny, he's a smug little dick that you just want to fucking punch when you see him. And I mean the fucking worst. Peter is the single biggest deterrent to this film succeeding. Here's what I mean. Peter agrees to go with his best friend James on this trip to find his sister. Lisa is doing her senior thesis, which will take the form of a documentary in this case, on James's search for his sister. Ashley comes because she's dating Peter, and because she's kind of a tech person, she knows how to use the drone and that sort of thing. So cool. Here's what Peter brings to the table. Dickishness. Pure fucking dickishness. They get to the town of Brickensville. They meet up with Lane and Talia. And yes, there is a Confederate flag hanging in the trailer in which these two live. But if you think that comes into play at all, if it's ever brought up, it's not. And if it's meant to serve as the reason Peter's such an ass to these two for the entire runtime, it's bad justification. Because he never confronts them about it. Nothing happens with that. The writing in this film is lazy. It's lazy as hell. Anyway. So, then they all go into the woods. Lane shows James exactly where he found the tape that he uploaded. And then they start hiking. They decide to make camp. Throughout their hike, though, before setting up camp, Peter is not only making fun of Lane and Talia for being sort of country and being poor to their faces, he's also making fun of the fact that they believe in the Blair Witch, and that they, meaning James, Lisa, Ashley, Peter, are there searching in the woods. Hey, fuck-faced dickmonger. The entire fucking reason you're here at all is to help your supposed best friend help him find his fucking sister. Shut your fucking mouth. Why the fuck are you here? What the fuck purpose do you serve? You don't believe in the Blair Witch, you're being an asshole to the locals, and you don't even think that you'll find your best friend's sister. You serve no purpose here. At all. You add nothing to this fucking film. You are a waste of goddamn space. And I pray to God this actor never gets another role. Because I swear to God, I'm just going to want to punch him in everything I fucking see. And I'm not kidding. He literally is joking about not ever finding her. Joking about people believing in the Blair Witch. And all James does is laugh along. What? No, this is a fucking event we're told has defined your entire life. Since the time you were born and your sister went missing, the entire reason you're out here is to try to find her. You have corralled equipment and people to fucking help you, and you drove hours to go into these woods to do so. And you're laughing at a fucking bad joke that your friend is making because he's an asshole. Fuck you too! Fuck you! These characters are poorly defined, as you can see. Once again, his quest for her sister is engaging, the actor makes it sympathetic, and everything involving Lisa is really well handled and very good, but Peter drags everything down. Everything down. We even get a shot of him pissing. No lie. So it's a found footage movie. They do update technology. So these people have these little earpieces here that are cameras. And then they have normal cameras that they're holding. And then they have a drone that has a camera mounted on it. These earpieces should, theoretically, be mounted here. So we're looking over here. So we're not seeing directly in front. We're seeing slightly to the side. So if you guys are seeing from my point of view, you should not be seeing directly. I should not be in your frame. I should be slightly off like that. You know what I'm saying? But no, everything is perfectly fucking framed. And hair, long hair that's in front of your ears, is never in the way. How the fuck does that work? Seriously. What the fuck? That's what allows for so many different angles that they might as well not have done a found footage film at all, because it serves no purpose. It doesn't add anything, it doesn't do anything. It just, they're doing a found footage movie because the first one was a found footage movie. That's it. That is it. In this day and age, when found footage films are coming out every fucking week, direct to DVD and the like, I'm of course exaggerating. I know it's not every week. It's not enough just to be a found footage movie. You need to do something with it. Even Invoked, which I watched the other week, which is an Irish low-budget found footage film, does something with it. It makes sense that they're recording all this shit, but it doesn't here. Even with the setup of this being her like college documentary thesis thing, it never goes anywhere. And because they have so many different cameras, it's pointless. We can see all the different angles all the time. So it actually doesn't add anything. In the first film, they have two cameras. The main camera and the little camera. And that's all we're cutting between. These two pieces of footage. That's it. But here, there's so many different cameras with so many angles that it strains credibility and is awkward as shit. More importantly, the sequence where Peter is peeing is also when he dies. Brandon Scott happens to be an African American who happened to get this role that happens to be fucking terribly written. He also happens to be the first death in this movie. Also, yay for blind casting. I presume it was blind casting at least. But come on, guys. Having the black person die first in a horror movie is such an old trope that I'm surprised no one fucking caught it. Then there's this whole weird subplot thing about Ashley getting her foot cut. They have to take off their shoes and socks to wade through a river, so they're not walking in wet clothes. That makes sense. She cuts her foot on something. She's not sure what in the river. Fair enough. And this doesn't come up quite enough to really be relevant. But there's a sequence where everybody gets separated after Peter's death. That she's looking at her leg, and it's just getting worse. Her leg is clearly just getting worse. It starts here, and it just kind of grows and grows. It stops about here. And she's looking at it, and she pulls something out of it, and it's such a quick scene that it's so dark that you can't really tell what it is. I think it was meant to be like a long tree branch, like a long thin tree branch or twig or something like that, but I'm not certain. Here's where that goes. Fucking nowhere! It does nothing! It adds nothing. She's just pulling the sick shit out of herself for a gory scene. It's never explored. How it affects her is never explored. Does the Blair Witch turn people into fucking trees? Like Troll 2? I don't fucking know, because the movie's too dipshit stupid to tell me. Fuck you, movie. Fuck you hard. As you can see, there are a lot of negatives that really piss me right the fuck off. But there are some really good things. And I'll leave the main negative for the last thing I discuss, because it is terrible and awful and fucking unfathomable to me that they did that. Anyways, individual scenes are creepy. Individual sequences are scary, even though a lot of the movie revolves on jump scares. A lot of jump scares. Oh well. But they work. There is a sequence involving the sound of a tree falling over, but you can't see it. You can just kind of hear it. That's pretty creepy. So that's like, oh, I forgot to mention, the movie cheats. As a found footage film, it actually cheats. There's a sequence where something weird happens. So Lisa goes to James's tent to sort of hide out and make sure everyone's okay. And she falls asleep in there. They both fall asleep. And when they're getting ready, they turn the cameras off. And then the camera turns on before either of them wakes up, because we hear an alarm wake them up. We hear an alarm wake them up, meaning they couldn't have been up to turn on those cameras. How the fuck did that happen? Seriously, Adam Wingard. Nothing about how this movie is shot makes a lick of sense. Please explain it to me. Anyway, back onto better sequences. There is a sequence where... So, the Blair Witch has new powers in this film, one of which is amazing, and I'll get to that in a moment. She can now throw tents 200 feet into the air, I guess. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. She now has time manipulation powers, so it never becomes day, and it can control the amount of time people think they're in the woods. So when Lane and Talia leave our main group, they are gone for 5 days, despite it only being roughly 5 hours for our main group of people. Never explored, never brought up, never makes a lick of fucking sense. If all that had taken place in just her house that we see, like at the end of the Blair Witch Project, I'd be okay with that. Her controlling the entire house, I could get behind. Yes. The entire fucking woods? No. That is so stupid. Plus, there's actual time travel. I don't mean just time manipulation, making it always seem like night, making a 1 hour feel like an entire day, or whatever it is she's doing. Actual time travel, that makes no sense, because the movie ends, or very near the end of the movie, with the same fucking footage that starts the film that sends James into the woods to search for his sister. How? She doesn't have control beyond a certain point, even if she controls the entire fucking woods. That does not work. James has never been to these woods before, so he couldn't be cursed. So you can't even argue that she's cursed him. So, yeah, no, you fucking moron. No, oh my fucking god, no. Ugh, fuck. Anyways. I liked some of the acting. I liked individual sequences that were creepy and intense. And did like the use of the drone. The 2 times they use it. 2 times. But it does add an interesting idea of doing an aerial advantage. Not just having... They only ever have it go up to search for roads and landmarks and that sort of thing. They never actually use it in a really innovative, interesting manner, which would be like to say, I don't know, having it move forward and then catching something on the ground that they can't see. I don't know, you have fucking options. But no, they just use it to go up and look at a really high vantage point and come back down. They use it for the most boring shit imaginable. It hurts my brain to think about. But they do add a nice reprieve from the rest of the shots. And they look pretty interesting. But again, because it's adding a different kind of a shot, the movie did not need to be found footage. Nothing is inherent to this film to make it found footage outside of the first one was found footage. This is not honoring a legacy just by making something found footage, because the first one is, it's being a moron, because you can't justify it within your own story. This movie here, not found footage, honors the first one though, because it at least explores ideas. Poorly, due to studio interference, I grant. But it does explore something. It tries to take on a new idea of what the Blair Witch can do. Far more importantly, there's one fantastic scene in this movie. Two, really, but I mean one fantastic scare. That's, oh my, holy shit, I did not see that coming. That, I could totally see people being iffy on the film, and then from that scene forward, being really into it. Even though I think the scenes after that don't keep that momentum going. Let me tell you, leave the group. They do eventually find their way back. They claim it's been 5 days, when for our group it's been like 5 hours, or however long it's been. Layton leaves again, but Talia stays. And creepier things keep happening, and then all those little twig things show up that we're used to seeing. And somebody takes it down and breaks one. And all of a sudden, you hear a loud crash boom noise, and Talia is slumped the fuck over, as if every single bone in her body broke at the same time. It's amazing. I love the idea that that's what those are for, and our characters never bothered to break them in the first movie, so we never knew that. That is awesome. That's what I wanted in this film. The other sequence is very close to the end of the film. It's just Lisa and James left. They finally find the Blair Witch's house. And by this point, James has had his own I'm sorry scene, a callback to Heather's I'm sorry scene from the beginning of the film. He's got his friends killed. He has put everybody's life in danger for this quest. He didn't believe in the Blair Witch now, yada yada, you know. So the entire film has been him looking for his sister, not being able to let go of the fact that she died in weird, mysterious circumstances. So he sets out on a dangerous mission to go find her and get his friends killed. So now the person he likes and they've eventually had a strong connection grow throughout the course of the movie, begging him not to go into the house. They're just going to find a way out of the woods, and that's that. That's what they're going to do. It's raining, it's thundering, there's this great looking tree stump that got hit by lightning years and years ago, and it's a kind of focal point of the film. So the scenery looks really cool. And he's going, I won't go, I won't leave you, I won't leave you, I won't leave you. And it's amazing. The way it's filmed, the way it's acted, everything about that scene is great. It's instantly undone. Instantly undone. By James hearing a scream come from the house that he believes is Heather, so he runs into the house and leaves Lisa. You literally did the one thing you told her 5 seconds ago you weren't going to do. These characters are poorly written. I saw this movie with a group of friends, but not my wife, who doesn't do horror films all that often. So, seeing it, coming home, next day, talking to her about the movie, I brought up the idea that I would still have these two get separated into the house, but still resonate on an emotional level without backtracking to stupidity from 5 seconds before. So, he said, I won't leave you. They're in full-on survival mode. They're going to try to find a way out of here. He hears the scream. Instead of running into the house like a fucking moron, you already know the witch exists. You already know she's killed people, and you just told Lisa you weren't going to leave. You fucking dick-faced nugget. What happens if he ignores it? Ignores the scream. Then, because he ignores it, the witch's scream, which you hear a little bit in the Blair Witch Project, but you hear all the time in this movie. This movie never shuts up, which I'm getting to. All the time in this movie happens, along with a big clash of thunder. So it makes our two jump from where they're standing, jump apart. This film has already established that the witch controls the house and can make it appear and disappear. It never specifies that it can only appear at one spot and disappears whenever she wants it to, but only from that one spot. So, I find it much more interesting, engaging, thematically resonant, emotionally resonant, and characterization sense-making. If they ignored it, boom, bang, big loud noises, they jump apart, and the house materializes around them. She can move it. Because of course she can. We already know this as a fact. So the Blair Witch can move the house. It's just she makes it just appear around them at that second. So they jump apart. As they're jumping outside, they both land in respective different rooms in the house. Bam! I've just fixed the emotional fucking core of your movie, you dipshit Adam Wingard. Learn how to write good characters. None of your movies have that. None. Fuck you. Yeah, I realize you're co-writing with Simon Barrett, whatever the fuck his name is, and I am not been pinning anything on him, and I should. I'm sorry for that, Adam. I shouldn't just be blaming you for this stupid atrocity. Simon Barrett, learn how to write characters, learn how to have a fucking plot that makes goddamn sense, and have an emotional core and context throughout its entire runtime. Fuck you for not knowing how to do that, and fuck you for being so goddamn naive that people should be able to accept that without it. No. No, we shouldn't. We should not have to accept a story just because you're too fucking moronic to understand a character arc. And I mean literally, in Your Next, and The Guest, and Blair Witch, these characters don't have character arcs. At all. In Your Next, everyone's an asshole. And everyone dies an asshole. In The Guest, the guest is creepy, he's creepy, and then he's creepy some more because he's a killer, so he's creepy. And then it's the sister coming to save her younger brother. Well, those two weren't exactly at odds. They weren't fighting. So she's just fighting for her own survival, which is fair enough. But The Guest isn't really a horror movie. It's more of a psychological thriller. So that doesn't make sense. Then in this movie, you completely abandon the emotional core of your film just to have a stupid ending. I'm getting to that now. They're in the house. He goes in the house separately. She eventually goes in the house due to being scared. And they eventually meet back up. So having them enter the house separately makes no goddamn sense. They eventually meet back up, and they then hide in the corner in the attic to not look at the Blair Witch. And this is being filmed, of course, by their little earpieces. And while doing this, they hear the witch screaming and screaming. And then there's something we can't hear. And James is like, Heather, is that you? Is that you? And he turns around and it's seen by the Blair Witch. You already know for a fact it's not her. You know that as a fact. You ran into that house after saying you wouldn't because you thought it was Heather, and it turned out not to be. How fucking dumb are you? So then, knowing what just happened, Lisa uses her camera to walk backwards so she doesn't have to directly look at the witch. Smart move there. Good on you. Then, we end with her turning around because she thought she heard James. Oh, fuck you, movie. No. No. She just saw what happened because James thought he heard Heather, And once again, you have ruined every emotional tidbit this movie could have fucking had in the name of killing everyone off and expanding your mythology. I understand you had to kill everybody off. That's not the way to do it. And the way you expanded your mythology was with one cool thing, and everything else was simply either reshuffling or redoing what was in the first film. Oh, there's some confusion about whether Osam Parr did it in the basement or the attic, so this one ends in an attic. Fuck you. All of that. All of that, though, is not the biggest problem with this film that isn't named Peter. The biggest problem with this film is its fucking sound design. The sound was done by these folks: Andy Hay, Dan Kramer, Brian Magrum, Jeffrey A. Pitts, Jesse Pomeroy, Roger Roscoe, Miles J.D. Vetter, that is one person, and Ryan Wasso. I want you to all memorize those fucking names so you know directly who to send fucking hate mail to when you watch this film and your ears goddamn bleed. This film is fucking loud as shit. You know, in the first movie, you don't hear everything because it's very quiet until something loud happens. Just like that. Just like that. It's normal, natural noises. You might hear some crunching of leaves, but it doesn't sound like it's literally somebody taking a bag full of leaves and crumpling them right up next to your ear. Well, Blair Witch sounds just like that for everything. Every noise, every twig breaking under somebody's foot, every breath they take, every howl of the wind, every leaf falling onto the ground, every noise sounds this loud. It's fucking absurd. And I don't mean my theater had the volume up too loud. You can tell the difference. See how I'm talking now versus now? The volume on your computer stayed the exact same, but I clearly got louder. You can tell when the volume is turned up versus when the movie is intentionally being that loud. Like in an action film. Quiet scene, all of a sudden, explosion. The explosion kind of jolts you out of whatever was just happening. It's meant to be louder than everything else on it. No duh. Every fucking noise in this film is so loud. The wind is... Everyone's... Everything is so goddamn loud that it's not creepy, it's not interesting, it's not effective, it's fucking obnoxious. Fucking irritating. Why is the sound design amped up to fucking 12? Yeah, 12. Not even fucking 11. 12. Maybe even 22, given how much stupidity it is. This doesn't work. In order for an effective horror film, it should be kind of quiet. And then, that's all a jump scare. That's how jump scares work, is big, loud noise, or something jumping out from someone you couldn't see that's not actually the killer, or the ghost, or whatever it is. But here, because everything is this loud, nothing feels frightening, nothing is creepy, none of the weird noises are all that weird, even though you can tell they're meant to be weird, because everything is so loud. This film has moments where it works, has two solid lead performances, and interesting ideas of where to take the mythology, but it's so inept on a technical level. It's so poorly written from an emotional and characterization standpoint, and has no justification for being a found footage film, that any goodwill it might have is fucking thrown out the window almost right away. Fuck this film. Fuck Adam Wingard. Fuck Simon Barrett. They don't know what they're doing. This is an insult to Blair Witch fans. A bigger insult than Book of Shadows. Period. This film sucks. I guarantee if you wrote Peter out, if somebody did an edit of this movie, or remade the movie shot for shot with all the same actors, and wrote Peter out, and toned down the goddamn sound design, I wouldn't be as harsh on this film. I guarantee, if everything else were the same, I'd still be annoyed by the film. The emotional core is still stupid. But it wouldn't be as inept. It wouldn't be as shockingly moronic as it is with a character like Peter and with sound design that sounds like this all the time. It's fucking frustrating. This was my first Blair Witch movie in theaters. Given how much I love Blair Witch, it's frustrating that I hate this film so much. So yeah, guys, fucking avoid this. Avoid this. Rewatch Blair Witch Project. Rewatch the sequel, because it's better than you remember. Not flawless, but better than you remember. Go play the video games. Go read the books. That shit's interesting. This film is a fucking stain on everything. Also, why did it come out in September? If it came out much earlier in the year, like May, I'm like, okay, yeah, horror films come out all the time. But you're this close to Halloween. Get released in October. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, Bobby. I'll see you next time.